All right, there are no secrets. Take 5. Hey everyone, so welcome to the first story series that I'm doing here. This first story is called There Are No Secrets. So to tell this story, I gotta go back in time a bit. We gotta go back to 1990. Yes, I am that old that I was alive in 1990. So back then, you have to think about it, training was a little bit different in that the internet wasn't as big as it is now. It's not like you look stuff up on your phone like you can now. And summer camps for martial arts weren't as popular as they are now. Nowadays, certain organizations might have a couple a year. But back then, they were just kind of starting to get into a swing, and there weren't that many of them. And back in 1990, the Weiqi community was doing one of its first big summer camps. And it was pretty cool because they were actually bringing a bunch of Okinawans over to the US for this summer camp. Where in the past, maybe one or two came over and they might have visited someone's school and you had to go to that person's school to actually work out with them. This was a big opportunity because they were bringing the Okinawans over. We would be staying in a college in New Hampshire for the week, and we were going to be able to kind of intermingle and work out with the Okinawans. So it was a big deal back then, and I was very excited to be a part of it. So myself and a group of friends from the school, we drove up to Henniker, New Hampshire to stay at New Hampshire College, where this summer camp was for the Weiqi community. And people from all over the U.S. came. It was actually a pretty cool experience. And the way it worked was there was a schedule in where you, like I say, you stayed on a campus in the dorms. We had breakfast in the cafeteria. We would meet on the athletic field at a certain time. We did usually some group sort of warm-ups and whatever as a large group. Then they generally broke you into groups based on rank. And the Okinawans would work with each group on whatever they wanted to work on. And then we'd do that on the morning, break for lunch, and then again meet again in the afternoon and train all afternoon, and then we'd have dinner and be able to hang out with everybody at night. Like I said, it was a super fun experience. So one of the things that happened during this camp that was kind of interesting, and the thing that made kind of an impression on me was, of course, no martial art get-together is complete without doing some kind of demonstrations, right? So the way it worked at this summer camp was they had built a small stage on part of the field, and the Okinawans did some demonstrations on this stage one of the days. And they did, their kata, they did kumite and, bunkai demonstrations. And of course, you have to have board breaking demonstrations, right? So one of the most common breaks that you see in the Weiqi community is when someone breaks a 2x4 over their forearms, right? Weiqi students do a lot of conditioning, especially with their forearms. So that breaking the 2x4 over your forearms is a pretty common break in demonstrations. So anyway, I'm a young 25-year-old kid watching these guys do their thing on the stage, and I'm just super jazzed about the whole thing. And this little Okinawa guy comes out, and he holds out his arm. He's going to get ready to break this 2x4 over his forearm. So he's standing there, arm out, and the other guy comes over with the board, and he lines it up against the kid's forearm, and he goes, 1, 2, and they swing, boom! And the board did not break. So you hear someone yell again. So the kid lines up again, and he goes, 1, 2, boom! The board still does not break. So now you hear a commotion going on in the back of the stage with the Okinawans and stuff, and this little Okinawan gentleman walks up, salt and pepper hair, kind of curly hair, big smile on his face, guy named Mr. Yonamine. So Mr. Yonamine goes up to this kid. He says something to him in Japanese, and the kid kind of backs off and walks off the stage. And Mr. Yonamine is kind of standing there. And I tell everyone when I tell this story that I don't know what Mr. Yonamine said to him in Japanese. I don't speak Japanese. But I tell everyone that I swear it was probably something to the effect of, don't worry, son, I'll show you how it's done. Because Mr. Yonamine stood there, bounces on his left foot, sticks his right foot out, toes pointing up to the air. I'm like, okay. And he motions to the guy to swing the board over his toes. And I'm a young kid. I'm thinking, wow, he's just gonna swing that board over his toes and it's gonna break. That's pretty impressive if he can do that. So you see the kid lining up against his toes. 1, 2, boom! Board breaks right away, right? And like I said, it was pretty cool to see. It was actually one of the more impressive board breaks that I saw in my life. I thought, especially at that time, just being able to hold your foot out like that and just have someone swing a board over it, over your toes. That was pretty cool. Nowadays, like I say, you can Google Shinjo board breaking and see, Sensei Shinjo breaking boards over his toes all day long. This wasn't something you saw on a regular basis back then. And it made quite an impression on me as a young martial artist. I thought it was cool. So anyway, when the Okanans were done with their demonstrations, we broke into our groups for our afternoon training. And my group was actually fortunate enough to work with Mr. Yonamine, so that was very cool. So when we were done with our training session and, kind of getting ready to transition to the next training session, I go up to Mr. Yonamine. I'm like, Mr. Yonamine, I just want to say that break that you did with your toes, that was super impressive, very, very cool. And he's a super affable guy, just very nice, big smile, and he goes, oh, want to know secret to kicking with your toes? I'm like, yeah, what is it? How do I do that? He looks at me, smiles, and he goes, yeah, you do this. And he starts kicking the ground. 100 times every day, toes get strong, each foot. And he kind of smiles and walks off to his next group, and I'm sitting there like, huh? That's the secret? What? And the funny thing about that is, as a kid, I superficially got the idea, oh yeah, like if I want to get good at conditioning, I gotta, work at it every day. But that's, it took me a long time to really internalize that there was a whole lot more to that lesson than I think I realized. And I don't think Mr. Yonamine was trying to impart any great words of wisdom other than, you got to train hard to be able to break boards with your toes. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, that is a freaking just important lesson to know, that there are no secrets. When you're training, there's no secrets. You want to get good, you got to put the time in and you got to grind and do the work. And like I said, it took me a long time, much longer than I probably would care to admit, to realize that applies to just about everything. You want to get good at running. Like I said, I've been trying to run and it sucks. But if I run a little bit every day, I'll get better. And just everything in life is like that. You want to be good at business, you've got to work at it every day. There's no such thing as overnight success. Every overnight success will tell you about the years that they were grinding before anyone ever knew about them. You got to put the work in. That's just how you get good at anything. Whether it's training, whether it's work, whether it's just anything. So like I said, it took me a long time to really internalize the importance of that lesson, but I think it's a really important lesson to remember. And so whenever I'm starting something and I get impatient, I just say, I just wish I could get good at this fast, I have to remind myself, there are no secrets. You gotta, like Mr. Yonamine said, you just gotta grind a little each day. And I think that's an important lesson, and I actually told my kids that story when they graduated high school in the hopes that it won't take them as long to internalize that lesson as it did me, and they'll realize that as they go out, it's just hard work. That's how you get anywhere in life. So, all right, guys, that's the first story. I hope you like the next one. I'm going to call that Those That Talk and Those That Do. Thanks a lot, guys. All right, take care. Bye-bye.